Good evening, everybody. I'm Pixie from Planet Pixie. I plan weddings and events with a difference. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you do watch us live, please do comment along and ask us any questions. If you're watching on the replay, #replay. And again, feel free to ask any questions and one of us will come back to you. I'm joined by Rebecca this evening from White Rose Ceremonies. Good evening.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. So tell us about what you do.
Lots and lots of exciting things. So I'm a celebrant with my company White Rose Ceremonies, and that means that I can conduct weddings and other life ceremonies such as funerals, namings and vow renewals wherever you want them. So particularly with weddings, you don't have to be in a licensed venue to have a wedding ceremony. So I get to go to all sorts of different places and do the wedding ceremony for couples in the rain, in the sun, in the wind, with thunder rolling around.
Oh gosh.
So it's an amazing work to do. It really is.
So how did you get into that?
Well, I got into it when myself and my husband were looking to get married, and we were, thinking about what we were going to do. And then, really sadly, my youngest brother died very unexpectedly. And after that, we were looking at our options, and we didn't want a religious ceremony, and we didn't want a registrar because that was too dry. I think his death had driven us to sort of thinking about, what was important to us as a couple and all of that. It does sort of force you into that. And so we were researching, and we found that a celebrant could perform a wedding ceremony wherever we wanted to have it, and we wanted to have it on the beach at Wells Next to the Sea in Norfolk. And so we did. But you can't have the legal thing there. So we went up to, we actually eloped to Gretna Green, didn't tell anybody that we were going to do the legal side of things. So we went up to Gretna Green. We had a lovely weekend looking around castles and forests and beautiful, beautiful area up there. And happened to do the legal side of things as we were there, which was lovely. We had 2 witnesses that they just came in off the street, and it was really nice. They cried. It was so lovely. So then we came home, and 4 months later, we didn't tell anybody about the legal side of things, but 4 months later, we then had our ceremony at on the beach at Wells Next to Sea, and it was gorgeous. It was very informal, very relaxed. There was just over 30 of us, and we all just sort of stood around in a big circle, and then had tea and biscuit, sand castle building competition, bubble machine. It was lovely, really good.
Sounds good to me. What kind of ceremony did you have?
Well, with this celebrant, we have, with a celebrant, it looks pretty much like a normal wedding ceremony, but we did go slightly different with ours. So we had a reading, we had exchange of rings, we had our rings were passed round on ribbon to each of our guests so that they could hold them and think of us. And as they held the rings, and I do this in my ceremonies as well, just hold the rings and think of us and their love for us. And that means by the time we exchanged our rings, the metal had been warmed by the love of the people who were there for us.
Oh, so that's adorable.
Yes.
That's really sweet.
It is really lovely. And that sort of ceremony, as a celebrant, when I do that now, they, when you see grandparents holding the rings, and, they literally hold the rings and close their eyes, and they're thinking of their grandchildren as well. It's really emotional. It's beautiful. Really gorgeous.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So what's the difference between a celebrant and a registrar?
Okay, so a registrar can legally marry couples in England and Wales, and they are the only people who can do the legal side of things, apart from ministers in the Church of England. Okay, so otherwise, anybody else can't perform the legal side of things. So a celebrant, what happens with my couples is that they will go to the registrar's office, and they will take part in what's called a 2+2 ceremony. So it's them and 2 witnesses. And currently that costs around £46 plus your notice fee of £35 each, plus your £11 for your certificate. And within 10 minutes, you've exchanged the statutory words, the contracting words, and you've signed your certificate. And that's all you need to do. And then you can go and have a wedding ceremony with a celebrant where, one person can be waiting with the celebrant and the other partner arrives with a family member or a friend, and you have that moment of arrival, and you have the welcome, and you still have the exchange of vows and exchange of rings, and it's all really lovely. And a lot of our couples like a traditional type of structure, but then they like different things sort of brought into it.
Different elements,
unique,
more personalised.
Yeah. So the registrars, their hands are, I know quite a few registrars, and who are really lovely, and they would really like to be able to do something more, but as a registrar, their hands are tied and they can only say certain things by law.
Okay.
So, but as a celebrant, we have so much more freedom and flexibility, which is wonderful. And it's an absolute joy, I have to say. It really is.
So what different elements can you have as part of the ceremony? I saw you sneak over with a jar of sand before we came on, and some ribbons. What are the different various things people can have or do?
Yeah. Okay. So with with the sand, if we talk about that first, this is my demo, so it has shaken down a bit because it's been moved around the country a lot. But what happens is this is quite good for family unity. And even just a bride and groom can do it, but it's used more often than not as for family blending. So where two families, two people getting married, and they've got children on either side. So what happens is that each person has a different colour sand, and the colour means something different.
Okay.
So the bride and her partner, or the groom and his partner, will pour the sand in first, and then each member of the family has a different colour sand, and they layer it up, and then at the top they all pour their sand in together, and that signifies the unity of the family. So then that is a nice keepsake to keep safely on the shelf and not take around the country like I do. Mix it up. But you can get some really stunning combinations of colours, and I've got and that is really nice. That's a really lovely thing to do. And you can buy heart-shaped glass vessels for it, and all sorts of things are available on the internet to be able to get those. And then with ribbons, I've got a lot of ribbons, lots of ribbons, which are used for hand fasting and hand tying. And hand fasting, it goes back to pagan, the old sort of Celtic days, where a couple were betrothed by the tying of hands, and they were tied for a year and a day, and at which stage they would decide whether they wanted to carry on being a couple. But it's the tying of the two hands, which symbolises the tying of two hearts and lives. And it's a really beautiful ceremony within your wedding ceremony. So you can use this in different ways. So again, the colours mean something different. So each colour, red signifies passion, orange can signify creativity, yellow can signify joy and happiness, pink signifies romance and truth, white signifies, meditation and peace, so all of these colours means have certain meanings. So you can have a hand tying or a hand fasting, and the difference is that with hand fasting, that's much more of a traditional pagan ceremony where you might also have the couple who want to call the quarters, and have their hands tied by somebody who is pagan. So most of our couples want what is really called a hand tying, where similar sorts of words are used, but you don't have all of the other elements with it, the calling the quarters. And the beautiful thing with hand fasting is you can either have your ribbons pre-plaited, and then they are tied around your hands and tied into a knot. I don't think I can do it with one hand. Let me give it a go. But the symbolism, I can. The
well done. Practice.
The symbolism is that once you've tied the knot, this symbolises your promises, so you mustn't break your promise, so don't untie the knots. Okay. And another way of doing that is where you have members of your family or friends come up, and they can give you a ribbon. Try and find the camera. Give you a different colour ribbon.
It's always backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. So that they can come up and they can give you a ribbon, and then the ribbons are looped and tied again. And again, with that, you tie the knot, and in fact, as a couple, you can each take the end, and literally, as you pull your hands out, you also pull the ribbons, and you tie the knot yourself, which is amazing, and everybody loves it. It's very visual, and if you can,
that's the version I like.
Yeah, and you can include your families and friends as well. That's really lovely because they feel as if they've been part of your ceremony.
Part of it, yeah.
Say anything.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I always say. You don't want somebody to, like, I would hate if I got married. I would hate for somebody to be like, how long did that ceremony take? Whereas if they feel part of it, and presumably, like for me, part of the symbolism would be they're part of your marriage because they're part of your life.
Yes.
So I like that version. That would be.
Yeah, and I think with celebrant ceremonies, I haven't ever seen anybody getting bored, because they don't actually know what's going to happen, so they're quite interested anyway. And if you start with ribbons, obviously they're going to sit up and take notice. But what most celebrants will do is, okay, so you have a structure to your ceremony, but what you're also doing is sharing the story of the couple's journey together. And we spend lots of time with our couples beforehand, talking to them and asking them all sorts of questions about their journey together. Where did they meet? What were their first impressions? What was their first film? Where did they go on holiday? And lots and lots of questions like that. And so all of that story is written into the script. So you may have the arrival, you may have the families and friends, please stand, please be seated at certain times, and the exchange of rings. But in between all of that is the couple's story, which is just phenomenal because each one is different. So you'll never get a script that is the same as anybody else's because everybody's journey is different together. And with the rituals, couples will then choose a ritual if they want to that kind of speaks to them. So they might like the ribbons, they might like the sand, they might want to light unity candles instead. So they each light a candle, and then each candle then lights a single candle to symbolize the single life ahead of them. We've had couples who have had a unity ceremony using cocktails. So they'll mix up their own cocktails.
That works for me.
Yes, that's right. So you can have that as well. And then there is an amazing one where a couple can. So you'd have a blank canvas with paint. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if either of the couple are wearing a dress, then you need to be a bit careful with that. But they can literally pour this paint onto a canvas, and that's a good one for children to be involved in as well. And then there are certain words again that go with that because of the colours used, and then that hangs in their home as a keepsake from their wedding. So, and there are lots of things you can have. A chocolate unity ceremony. You can have anything. A football.
Again, that works for me too.
Chocolate. I see you're going for the drink and the chocolate. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
pretty much.
So there are lots of things, but it depends on the couple and, you know, what they really like. That you know, celebrants have to kind of wait to talk to them before they can really suggest some ideas, because, you know, you can't say to everybody, have hand fasting, have sand, light candles. It really does
Yeah.
depend on the couple, and that's the beauty of this work, is that it's just so, it's different every time.
So which one's your personal favourite?
Oh, what ritual?
Yeah.
I think the hand fasting for me, the hand tying, really, mainly because people who are there as guests can join in if the couple have, you know, have decided that they want 13 ribbons and they want 13 people to bring them up. Then I will write the words for each ribbon, you know, and we'll do that. So I did a one of those for a couple through Gift of a Wedding, which is where, you know, one of the couple is suffering from a terminal illness,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. It's so touching for people to be able to come up and just put that ribbon, you know, over somebody's hands and that person that they love so much, and then, you know, I'm part of that tying, the looping of the ribbons, and I'm there to help them tie the knot. There's just something really lovely about it, and I love different colours and things like that. So it's always a great thing for me. So anything with colour, basically. So, but that's the one, my favourite.
So what process do you take people through when, so somebody contacts you, they've decided, you know, that they want a celebrant, that's what they want in terms of symbolism, but they're not quite sure exactly what elements they want or what they're supposed to say or anything like that. What process would you take them through?
Yeah, okay. So most couples who contact us say that they know they want a celebrant because they want something different, but they can't imagine how it's going to work out on the day, who says what, and you know, do they make their promises or what? So I will, well, pre-COVID, I would always go to meet them because it's great to meet somebody face to face.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year most of the work has been on video link. And I will take them through the process, which is basically that I will go and see them and talk to them about what they want. Have they got any ideas at all? And if we start with a blank page, that's absolutely fine. If they've got some ideas, that's also fine, because I can build them in. And so then I talk them through what we do at White Rose Ceremonies, which is provide them with lots of information that they can pick and choose from. And I also provide them with a couples questionnaire. This is their, and 2 tea bags. This is their date night. No cocktails at that stage.
I'm as long as they're technically tea bags, I'm in with that one too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Nice cup of tea. So so they fill out their couples questionnaire for me and they get that back to me, and then I go and see them again, and I go through the bits, the things that they've chosen from the resources that I've sent them. I also go through their couples questionnaire and we start to build the script. And it's really lovely at that stage because you can see from their faces, they're starting to see it come alive. And they can really see how it's going to work. And I say to them, well, look, you know, when we start your ceremony, I will not have you with your back to your guests. I'll turn you so you can see your guests and you can interact with them. And, you know, if I'm saying something that might be funny, then you can see how that, you know, the reaction is going, and you can engage with that as well. So, and then I, you know, take them through whether they want to sign a commemorative certificate at their ceremony, which they can do, what music they want, who they want involved, go through the rituals and talk about what they are. And if there's something different coming through, then I'll say, well, look, let's think about doing something different. Let's work on a ritual for you that's unique to you. So, yeah, so then by the time I've left that particular meeting, then we've got a really good idea about what's going on. But there's always engagement. So I might have a celebrant relationship with my couple for 2 or 3 years. And it might be like this year has been 3 weeks, you know. let's get it all done in 3 weeks or even 4 weeks. And I think the longest was 6 weeks. So, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, you can take your time and have lots of conversations, and my door is always open in terms of email and video conversations and phone conversations. I don't restrict anybody in that way. So yeah, we just talk it all through. And on the day, then when they arrive, you can see in their faces, it's like, oh, Rebecca, you're here. Thank goodness. So excited, and let's get this party started type of thing. So
yeah, knowing what to expect is a big one.
Yeah, it is. And I think with registrars, and again, it's sort of down just to how they have to work. You don't necessarily know who's going to be there on the day, and you don't know what they're going to be like. So with a celebrant,
it's a lot less personal, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But with a celebrant, you'll know, you know what you're getting, and you know, and you're comfortable that actually, you know, you've got something happening that you're happy with. And there might be 1 or 2 surprises. So I asked my couples to answer some questions without sharing the answers with each other. And I say, you've got to trust me on that one. And I put that into the script, in the secret script. And they don't get to hear their answers, the other person's answers, till the day. So that's normally quite nice. Yeah.
But can we ask what those questions are? Or is that spoiling it?
No. Well, they're not.
Don't want to spoil anybody's fun.
No, well, well, it depends on the couple as to what I'll ask them. But the standard questions, I guess, are what do you love about each other, what makes you laugh about each other, and what you're looking forward to in the future. I mean, one couple had what irritates the hell out of each other, you know. so it really does depend on the couple, you know. So it can be a bit of one of those sort of quizzes, you know, about the couples where they have to answer the question right.
Like an episode of Mr. and Mrs.
That's it. Yeah.
How was you briefly mentioned this year being slightly different in terms of how long you've worked with people and stuff. How has this year been different for you with the changes and what has and hasn't been allowed?
Yeah, it has been really different. I mean, we had 30 weddings booked, and we've done 4. Three of which were not booked as part of my 30. So all of mine have sort of been moved to next year and the following year. And one has even gone into sort of years after that. So yeah, I mean, it has really, it's been a very, very difficult year, as you know, for everybody in the wedding industry, and for our couples, because I think, you know, if you're so looking forward to a wedding day, and this is what you've planned for, and you've been saving for, and then all of a sudden that's off the radar. And I don't know if you remember, but in when was it? Was it in July? They just said, that's it, with 24 hours notice, no weddings.
Yeah, enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so very, very difficult for couples and for all suppliers in the wedding industry as well.
Yeah, I remember, because I just pulled out all my stock of like chair covers and sashes and decor and stuff like that. I was like, right, enough's enough. I'm not doing it anymore. This is ridiculous. It didn't last long, but I had a little paddy and was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of us and for a lot of our couples, it's just the not knowing, isn't it? It's just not, you know, what are we supposed to do? And also for a lot of our couples, you know, you plan your wedding and you've got other life plans after that. You know, you may want to be saying, okay, we're getting married in 2020 because we want to have a family in 2021, you know, so it's not just a wedding, it's a whole heap of other stuff to what, you know, you want as a couple and that you really desire. It's not a want as such, it's an emotional significant moment.
Yeah, very much. Well, on a brighter note, what's your favourite part about what you do? If you've got any like quirky stories or anything like that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, I think my favourite part is that every ceremony is different, and I work in some beautiful formal venues. I've worked in fields. I've nearly broken my ankle falling over tree roots, and
Oh no.
all sorts of things. We had a wedding outside where we were, where there were, my husband took a photo of it, where there was is it a herd of geese? I know
I
there
have
was
no idea.
12, no, as the groom was saying his vows, there were about 12 geese that just came up, really sort of making all that honking noise and everything.
Oh, they're really noisy.
They are, yeah. And then, so that was, we kind of just got through that. And then the bride did her vows, and a light aircraft took off in the next field,
Oh no.
So those sorts of things. But, I've also done I've done weddings, as I say, in formal venues, teepees, fields, on the beach at Wells Next to Sea a couple of times, but also in a supermarket.
I'm presuming there has to be a story to getting married in a supermarket.
Well, do you know what? People have said to me, why would anybody get married in a supermarket? And it was a really lovely story, actually, behind it.
I would hope so. I automatically hope so.
Yeah, but the couple had they had met, and the bride wasn't very well, so she was only to go out for a date. She could only walk a certain distance, and that was, they basically dated in the cafe at Morrison's,
Oh.
and they actually just got really fond of it, and they became very friendly with the people that worked there and things like that. And so they decided that that was where they wanted to have their wedding ceremony. And actually, it was on the TV got hold of it, local radio and TV got hold of it. So when we turned up on the day, people were packing their bags, putting their potatoes in, putting their beans in the bags, and just basically looking around at all of this sort of razzmatazz. The BBC were there, the ITV were there, BBC World News were there, and the radios, BBC Cambridgeshire and Heart Radio, they were there as well. And we, and but it was such a lovely ceremony, and really, really touching. And we had the rings go off to all of the guests that were there to do that sort of, holding of the rings as well. And there was a right old jostle in front of me with the cameras. I mean, there were two guys sort of with these big cameras sort of going head to head, really, to try and get
one in their shot.
Yeah, the best position. And then there was a lady, I think she was BBC, but she literally crawled on the floor between them and popped up and got the best shot. So,
I think when you look back, you'd probably be grateful for a cool picture, but at the same time, I'd be like, do you mind? Trying to do something here.
But it was good. Oh, we sang at that ceremony as well. So I can't remember the song now. But we all
going to say it's going to have a slightly different tone to me singing around the supermarket, I presume.
Yes, that's right. Well, it didn't go on the loudspeakers around the supermarket, but we were singing in that little cafe area. Although I did have my head mic on and I forgot to turn it off, so people probably could hear me singing down the aisles as well. But it was really a lovely ceremony, just an unusual setting, and that we all have a place that's special to us. And you can have your ceremony there, so with a celebrant. So
yeah,
happy days. So yeah, so I do get to be in all sorts of places.
Well, to be fair, I think, I say it to people all the time, and it's, if you were to take two wedding albums and put them side by side, I'm doing it over here, you can't see me, and put them side by side, but stand back from them, so you can't see the faces, would you know that was your wedding?
Mm.
If not, should you be doing it slightly different? Yeah. And I think if you were to look and the pictures were in Morrison's, I think you'd know.
Yeah, I think you would.
I think you would know.
I think you would indeed. Yeah, I mean they're not very common in supermarkets. I mean, they have been done before, but yeah, that was it was a lovely ceremony. So yeah, so I get to be in all sorts of places, which is amazing. And with couples who choose to have a celebrant, it kind of, you know, shows that they are thinking much more about all of their celebrations, including their ceremony, not just getting the legal bit out of the way and then going to have a big party. Can't blame anybody for wanting a big party, to be honest. But the small weddings have really focused in on the ceremony, and they have been absolutely beautiful. So I did one last weekend, and because there were only 12 guests there, the couple had put a lot of thought into how it was set up. So it was set up with some beautiful settees to make sure people were in their bubbles, basically, and the rugs, and they had tables, little sort of coffee tables by the settees that were dressed nicely and had flowers from the ceiling and really lovely lighting. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. It really, really was. And you felt like I could still feel all the love in the room. And they did have 2 screens on with people who were zooming in.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so they had a lot of people who were zooming in, but it was just such a really lovely atmosphere. So these smaller weddings are really lovely, you know, as well as the lovely, exciting big ceremonies as well. These smaller ones have been quite something, to be honest, really have.
Yeah, I think a few people have kind of taken the opportunity to kind of say, do you know what, actually I never wanted all of that in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want to do, which I think is the ideal way to do it, whether you want it to be big or want it to be small. I think that the key point is that it's about you as a couple, isn't it?
I did have one couple who came across from who contacted me from America, and they wanted to have an elopement ceremony on a punt in Cambridge, on the backs. And so that's what we did. So on my website, there's a picture of them, of us on the punt while I was doing the ceremony, and that was quite something as well. So there was me and the photographer and the guy doing the punting and the couple, and we did a hand fasting, and they exchanged their vows. And as they were exchanging their vows, this swan came up and just swam along next to us. It was absolutely stunning. So, you know, small weddings and elopements are, you know, can be fantastic as well.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it was really gorgeous. Yeah.
So before I let you go, where can people find you? Pardon?
I can talk about this all night.
It's good. It shows that you love what you do. But before I won't keep you all night, because I do have a habit of doing that to people, and then people are like, it's 10:30, I haven't had my tea. So I am terrible when I get chatting. So before I do let you go, where can people find you? Where can people follow you? Where can people find out even more about you?
Okay, so the website is whiteroseceremonies.co.uk. So that's the first place to look, and you can always then click through to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn as Rebecca Waldron, so if anybody's on that platform as well. But Facebook and Instagram are the main places that you can contact me. You can also get me through email and the contact form on the website as well. I try to be as present online as I possibly can be. So I'm normally got my phone attached to my hand.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, and on my website, my telephone number's on there as well. So you can pick that up and just look for me on Google. So Google me.
Cool. Thank you very much. I'm just going to pop you backstage while I sign off, and I'll be with you in a moment. So thank you for joining us. Like I say, if you've watched on the replay, please #replay. Feel free to ask us any questions. We won't be live next week because obviously we have Christmas and Christmas Eve, but we will be back on Tuesday, the 29th, with Becky from Daisy and Fred, and we will be talking about cake. So you don't want to miss that. Thank you for watching.